The 2024 silly season has slowly but surely been brought to an end. However, there are a couple of seats that are yet to be determined, which means that we still have a lot to look forward to in the last 6 races of 2024. Sauber is the team that many people are keeping their eye on due to their vast choices for the second driver next to Hülkenberg. But Red Bull could very well emerge as a serious participant in the silly season as well, replacing Perez with a junior driver. With these 2 seats at risk, who would replace the junior that would be promoted in Red Bull? And is the all-German lineup the perfect choice for Audi headed into 2025? It's safe to say that Red Bull has been one of the most volatile teams in the past couple of months, and from a dominant force that has gone on to win every race in the first 5 events in 2024 to winning just 3 more to this day. The narrative has shifted vastly. Part of that is the internal power struggle that saw Horner take more power within the team, but on the other hand, the drivers' lineup is also something that is yet to be fixed for good from 2025 onwards. The fact that Lawson doesn't have a contract for 2025 with Racing Bulls goes to show that the Kiwi driver has a great opportunity to become Verstappen's teammate. But according to Marko, we shouldn't be keeping a blind eye on Tsunoda either. The Japanese driver has now outperformed 2 of his teammates in the span of 2 years, De Vries and Ricciardo, and that puts him very high on the list of candidates who would be worthy enough to call themselves a Red Bull driver. When talking about Tsunoda's chances of suiting up in a Red Bull uniform, Marko said, "Tsunoda is a candidate to drive alongside Max in 2025. The remaining races this season will decide what our driver pairings will look like next year. We have decided to compare Lawson and Tsunoda. They have the same material and the same conditions, and each now has 6 races to prove that he is the better driver. We once started with the philosophy of giving young drivers a chance in Formula 1, and now other teams are following that. Mercedes, Haas, Williams, and even Audi is now considering the young Mick Schumacher." Tsunoda has had some ups and downs, primarily in his behaviour, which saw a lot of outbursts in the past couple of years, and while this is something that he's been able to control in the last couple of months, there are still flashbacks that Red Bull would want to see polished to perfection. On top of that, in the 5 races that he and Lawson raced together, Tsunoda finished the race on 3 occasions and has been behind the Kiwi driver in all 3 of them, which is kind of a negative start for him in the head-to-head duel against Lawson. But the 22-year-old is feeling more than ready to now hop in the Red Bull seat and show the world what he's made of. And when talking about this, Tsunoda said, "If I'm not ready for the Red Bull seat, I would have been able to fully announce that I'll be driving for VCARB next season. I've been feeling ready for the last 3 years to fight against the top teams, higher positions, even with Max or whatever. But in the end, Red Bull are the ones who are going to decide, and it's not the things I can control. So I am just focusing on what I have to do in the next races." The confidence is there with Tsunoda, and this is the first step in the right direction if you were to get the Red Bull seat sooner rather than later. However, the situation could very well change in another direction, as the Austrian team is also looking at the services of Liam Lawson. We must not forget that they've gone to destroy the perfect world scenario where they would have teamed up Ricciardo and Verstappen and would have given the youngsters a chance in Racing Bulls. So now it's obvious that anything is possible when it comes to Red Bull and their lineup from 2025 onwards. Yep, Perez still has a contract, but that doesn't effectively mean that he will get to keep his seat, as Horner himself admitted that the evaluations are now underway, which was the primary reason as to why Lawson wasn't given a contract with Racing Bulls for 2025 in the first place. Furthermore, the Brit added, "In a perfect world, we would have seen Verstappen and Ricciardo as teammates, but from a broader perspective, we need answers for the bigger picture in terms of drivers. There are 6 races remaining, and it's a perfect opportunity to line up Liam alongside Yuki. Lawson is not currently being prepared for Red Bull because this goes way beyond VCARB. It encompasses Red Bull Racing. We still have a contract with Perez for next year, but you always need to keep an eye out in terms of what what comes next. Is that going to be Liam? Do we need to look outside the pool? Will one of the other juniors step up like Hadjar or Lindblad? This is the story about Red Bull and their junior drivers, and on the other hand we have the exciting prospects of Sauber and Audi, who are looking to compete for high point finishes from 2026 onwards. It's highly unlikely that we'll see more competitiveness from the Swiss squad in 2025, but that doesn't mean Audi won't get to see how the lineup will be suited ahead of their takeover in 2026, as now a young German driver has been given a lifeline through Binotto's latest statements. It seems like the career of Schumacher is all but over, and even though many have labelled him to be done with this sport, the young German driver refuses to give up, and so does Audi in terms of signing him sooner rather than later. When talking about Schumacher being a candidate for the second seat next to Hülkenberg from 2025 onwards, Binotto said, "We can afford the luxury of not rushing since all the other teams have decided their lineups." Two essential aspects. On the one hand, experience to set the growth path. On the other, a young, talented driver who can accompany us on the path to the top. Schumacher is definitely an option. We are evaluating it. I met him and spoke to him. I've known him for a long time, having been part of the Ferrari Driver Academy. I know his strengths and weaknesses, and he is one of the names we have in mind. But what Binotto has stated, and it's a very important thing, is that they do have a Mount Everest to climb right now, and from how things stand at this moment, they are at the very base. So the most important part for them would be to decide whether the driving force would be someone with experience or someone young who is ready to prove himself worthy of an F1 seat. Schumacher's F1 career hasn't really gone well in the American squad of Haas, and on the other hand, there have been a lot of talking points about his return throughout the silly season in Alpine, but the French squad have decided to go with one of their own, Jack Doan. Altogether, it does look like the last chance of Schumacher would be the seat in Sauber, but make no mistake, he will have some fierce competition here. For example, there will be talks with another young driver who is currently driving in F1 and is making a strong statement for himself, Franco Colapinto, as he got his team boss standing behind him and bidding for a seat in Sauber. James Vowles has openly admitted that he has entered talks with Audi in order to secure a seat for the young Argentinian driver, who is now slowly but surely starting to become a fan favourite among the amazing Baku race and almost scoring a point in Singapore, finishing P11 right behind Perez. Talking about this to a greater extent, Vowles said, "What I really hope is that Colapinto is competing in the sport next season. I want a place for him so he can race in 2025 and ideally in Formula 1. In 2 races, he has shown the world he deserves a place in Formula 1. I have always firmly believed that you have to give good drivers opportunities. So we'll see if we can find a way to work with Sauber in this circumstance." That's what I was insinuating about regarding next year. All of this is spelling bad news for Bottas, who, while being at the top of the candidates list to pair up with Hülkenberg from 2025 onwards, is now slowly but surely seeing his chances fade away, as Sauber have a lot of choices from the youngsters in the sport. With all this in mind, where do you think Tsunoda and Schumacher will end up in 2025? And more to the point, do you think that they are deserving of the Red Bull and Sauber spots respectively? Let us know what you think in the comments below, and once you do that, have a look at the video that's appearing on your screen right now.